75% of American adults have flown on an airplane at some point in their life. A majority of those that have flown have also flown more than once. With such a vast majority of Americans participating in air transportation, it is surprising that many do not know much about the workings of the system. For just one airplane to take off and land at another airport successfully, many people are involved. There is the pilot, the dispatcher, the ramp agents, airline mechanics and flight engineers, aircraft fuelers, and last but not least, the air traffic controllers. Air traffic control is one of the most important but least recognized positions involved in the smooth flow of aviation activities. Without controllers, more flights would be delayed and not as many planes would be able to fly every day. The primary purpose of air traffic control is to keep aircraft from colliding with each other. Controllers work to manage the flow of air traffic all around the United States. Their main duty is to maintain the safe, orderly, and expeditious flow of all air traffic. There is both controlled and uncontrolled airspace. Controllers are in charge of all planes flying within controlled airspace. They have to give them directions and ensure that they get where they need to go in the quickest and safest way possible. Controllers give directions to planes to avoid other aircraft, severe weather, and restricted government zones. However, controllers are not only in charge of planes flying in the air. They are also in charge of planes on the ground that are taxiing before takeoff and after landing. They have to ensure that the planes follow the correct paths so that they don't run into other planes. However, it is not that simple. They also have to take into account a phenomenon known as wake turbulence. Turbulence from other planes landing and taking off can be felt even after the plane that caused it is out of sight. This turbulence can do great damage to other planes, so that controllers have to be sure to maintain the minimum separation depending on the size of the aircraft. Lastly, controllers have to be sure to taxi an aircraft to a runway that is long enough for the plane to take off from. If the runway is too short for the plane, then it will not be able to take off and will end up crashing. Controllers have a lot of responsibility and are under a lot of pressure to ensure every flight goes smoothly. There are two different facilities a person could work at as a controller. They could work at an Air Route Traffic Control Center, or ARTCC, or at a control tower at an airport. This is what the inside of a control center looks like, and this is what the inside of a tower looks like. If they work at an ARTCC, then they deal with en route traffic. Each controller is assigned to an area or a sector which they are in charge of managing. Sectors are not only divided by area, but also by altitude. If they don't work at an ARTCC, then the controller works at a tower at an airport. The tower has much more diverse duties. A controller could work one of three possible areas. The first area is ground control. These controllers manage traffic in the airport movement areas. This generally includes all taxiways, inactive runways, and holding areas. Any aircraft in these areas must have clearance from ground control. They make sure that everything is coordinated appropriately so that there are no runway incursions or incidents. The second area a controller could work is local control. They are responsible for the active runways. A local controller is in charge of clearing aircraft for takeoff or landing, making sure that the required runway separation will exist at all times. The third area is called the TRACON or approach control. Once an aircraft gets within 30 to 50 nautical miles of the airport they plan to land at, a controller working approach control will take over managing that plane. Approach control is responsible for ensuring that aircraft are at an appropriate altitude and that aircraft arrive at a suitable rate for landing. It is considered the most difficult area to work as a controller. Usually only busy airports actually have approach control. The path to becoming an air traffic controller is a long process. The Federal Aviation Administration has a partnership with many colleges throughout the United States. These colleges offer a program called the Collegiate Training Initiative, where the student earns an associate's degree in aviation administration while completing the program. Right before graduation, you take an exam called the ATSAT to show your abilities related to the job. After graduating, students apply for a position in air traffic control through the FAA. Once accepted, you get a temporary offer letter. You then have to complete an intensive background check, psychological exam, and physical exam. After passing all these requirements, you then receive a final offer letter with a date to go to training. Training is in Oklahoma City and takes between 3 and 4 months. After completing training, you start your career in air traffic control at whichever facility you were assigned to. Completing all these requirements is not easy, and not finishing them successfully will make you ineligible for the job. There are no second chances given. Even though the process is long and difficult, the career is rewarding and well worth the effort. In conclusion, flying is the most popular and safest way to travel all around the world. Aviation is a major contributor to our global economy, and it continues to expand as years go by. In the U.S. alone, aviation employs over 10 million people. One of the most crucial aviation careers is air traffic control. Controllers are in charge of keeping air travel efficient and the skies safe. They advise pilots of any dangers and make sure that every plane takes off and lands where it is supposed to, when it is supposed to. It is a controller's job and responsibility to keep flying safe. Thank you!
That's it? That's it? You